Alright, so now we're going to be dimensioning the bracket. We just created our dimension styles. Go to the dimension styles video if you want to see how to do that. It'll be needed first. And what I want to do is go over to my annotate tab, and I want to make sure that I have my small r layer activated. I want that to be what I put all of my dimensions on, and then every once in a while we'll have a special type of dimension that we have to switch over to large radius. But this will be our default right here. And then I want you to go to your Home tab and make sure that you are on your text layer. So something that we talked about today was moving the views around so that you have more space for your dimensions. Now these are already spaced out a little bit, but I just want to remind you guys how you move views around if it's something you choose to do. So when you move a view, you want to be in ortho mode so that you can move a view strictly horizontally or strictly vertically. But you also want to keep your views in alignment with each other. That means that I can't just take this view over here. Let me unlock these. Let me get into my model space actually. That's what I need to do. I can't just take this right here and move it up and down. If I was to move this view all by itself up and down, there would be a problem because I would be moving it out of alignment with the front view. You see that? I can only move this view left and right. If I move this view up and down, which I might want to, then I would need to move both of my bottom views here. So, in order to move views, I'm going to click on my move command. I'm going to select my objects by clicking in one corner of the box I want to make and clicking again in the other corner of the selection box I want to make. Hitting enter, so I just selected all of this, and now I get to specify a base point. And in this case it doesn't matter too much. It helps if I specify a base point on a part. But you see how I'm moving both of those together up and down? That's how I can move those. So I can move those out a little bit. And we have the same mentality with these two views. If I wanted to move them to the left, I would have to move them both together. So to move views again, I hit my move command. I select the objects that I want to move. Enter. Specify my base point, and then I can move my views. And remember, ortho is on for this. And essentially what I'm doing, and I don't want it to snap, it can accidentally snap up or down a little bit, so just pay careful attention. Essentially what I want to do is when I'm in model space here, I want to check back in paper space and just make sure that my views are kind of near the edge of the page with a little bit of space. But a lot of our dimensions will be in between our views. And we can move these views again if we want to later. So move your views around, and then let's get started with dimensioning. Okay. So I like to start with the front view because a lot of dimensions will be on the front view, since the front view is usually defined as being the most quote-unquote profile view of the part, and for dimensions it's good if they are on their profile view of the part. So we'll end up having a lot of dimensions on this view pretty much. So let me do this, show you guys our input sheet right here. I'm going to make sure that I'm on my text layer. And let's get started. I'm choosing linear dimensions up here, but I'm going to start with my extents. Extents just means the largest dimensions on that part. So the extent of this part would be 6 by 3 by 3.25. That would be kind of the envelope that that part fits in. You can also call those extents. So it's important when I'm making a view that I have this gap right here between my extension line and my view. In order to do that, I need to make sure that I pick in the right places. So you'll notice that I could pick, and what I'm about to do will be incorrect. I could pick down here and drag up and then place my view, but I no longer have this gap that I want right there. So you need to pick kind of on the outside perimeter of the part if you want these dimensions to maintain that gap. That makes it clear that it's a dimension and not part of the part geometry. All right, so we've got our 6 right there, and I'm going to highlight this as I go. Okay, so I just made this 6 dimension. And it's very important to highlight these somewhere as I go. When you're doing these assignments, you don't want to miss a dimension. It's -5 points on your assignments if you miss a dimension. So it's important to highlight. It's something that you do in the field too. A lot of times people actually print things out and highlight as they're doing different activities to make sure that they're very precise and that they aren't missing details. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to look at my other extents. I've got my height and my depth. I'm going to choose to show these on this view right here. Click, click, and then I'm not holding down a click, I'm just dragging, and then I'm clicking to place that dimension. Again, I made sure that my pick points are such that I get this little gap. And let's highlight these dimensions to show that I just made them. Okay. Let's see what we have here. I've got the height of this bottom platform at 0.75, and then I also have the height of this up here, the width of this up here at 0.75. So I think the profile of that width there is shown like this. Sometimes I'll get it so that it automatically pops my dimension over to the side. If that happens and there's space for that dimension to live in here, usually what I do is I click once and then I grab that little square handle and I drag it over to the middle right there. Okay, and then we've got that platform height, which I could show here or here. Either one would be acceptable. For this go through, I'm going to place this right here. I'm going to highlight those. 0.75, 0.75, okay. And I'm going to start looking at these dimensions that I have back here on this part. So I have, I'm going to draw these as I see them here. And if you guys were in class today, you'll notice I'm doing this a little differently. And what you can learn from that is that it's okay if these dimensions are in a slightly different place, especially if the parts has a 2x on that dimension. In that case, it isn't specified which side you need to specify it on. So I'm going to give our 0.6 right there, and that's lined right up with the 2.7 dimension. I'm going to click, click, drag up. Now I haven't clicked yet. I'm waiting until I can come over here and just grab some type of snap, and then I'm going to maintain my little green dotted line and then click. That way I can have these dimensions lined up with each other. Then I'm going to grab my 0.25 and 1.2 right here. I could place those on this side of the part or this side of the part. Just going to go with what I see at the moment. Drag that down. Now, some of you may have something on your screen where you actually see a line through this 0.25. If that's what you see, what you need to do is click on your dimension, go over to your Annotate tab, and make sure that it is set on the small r dimension style. That will fix that. But if it looks like this, then you're good. Pick there and there. 1.2. All right, now when I go back to highlight these, I notice that I have a 2x next to this and a 2x next to this. I need to put those on this drawing. So in order to do that, I just need to double click until I see it's kind of slight, but do you see that cursor right there that's blinking? If I see that, that's when I know I can start typing. So it'll be 2 capital X space. And then to close it out, you'll click Close Text Editor up here. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to double click. Let's see, 2 to capital X. That's not right, I need a capital X. Space, Close Text Editor. Okay. I think I need to move these dimensions out a little bit. It's good. That wasn't it. Okay. Next, I'm going to do everything that's kind of a circular or radii dimension last. So next I actually have locational dimensions. They show me where the location of the holes are. So, and these are also 2x dimensions, which means either one can go on either side. So I'm going to pick a side. I'm going to do this 1.25 dimension right here on the right side, and I'm going to pick right here, and I'm going to pick, for the circle, I'm going to pick the very end point of my center mark. You need to make sure that you have your snaps turned on for this. And what I need to do is drag this out far enough that the dimension switches to be a vertical dimension. Do you see how for 1 second that dimension wanted to be pulling this direction right here, that doesn't mean anything to us. We want to pull it this way so that we see that 1.25 that we're looking for right here. Then we have the location of that circle from the edge, and that's 2x. So we can actually put that on either side. I'm going to put it on this side. Snap, snap, drag up. Even if these dimensions aren't touching, it would be nice if they're lined up. Okay. I'm going to go back to highlight these. As I'm highlighting them, I notice that I did not put the 2x on there. Another useful thing about highlighting. It's a good reminder, stuff like that. 2x space, close text editor. Click on that until I see my blinking cursor. Then I'm going to type in 2x space, it's a capital X, and then close text editor. Okay, and then I have a 2 times 0.75 over here. Now that'll be on my top view. I'm going to put it on this side. Here I'm grabbing 2 endpoints of 2 different center marks. And that would have a 2x in front of it as well. Click, sometimes double click, blinking cursor, 2x space 0.75, and then check on close text editor. All right. Let's do this radius dimension right here. Hold on a minute. Okay, there I have my 3. That's my depth of the part. Okay. I'm going to add this radius dimension here. So let's go up to my dimensions. I need to specifically grab radius because it does ask for a specification between radius and diameter. So I'm going to grab the radius dimension. Notice that if I hover over these, and I have to hover for a while, how it shows me pictures. That can be helpful if you guys want to check those out. But I'm going to click on radius. All you need to do is select the arc or circle, which is right here. I'm going to drag this out and click. Now, this picture right here points out that this is the large style of radius. And what that means is, what I actually am going to want is I want my arrow to be coming from the center mark, the center point of that circle, out so that the arrow is touching the inside of this arc. It's just a style thing when you have a bit of a bigger circle. It's a little more clear. So the way we're going to change that is I'm going to click on the dimension just once. It shouldn't highlight for text or anything. If it does, escape out and try it again so that you click on the text. Even clicking on the arrow will work. And then after doing that, you're going to right click and you will get this menu right here. And you will scroll up to dimension style. And you're going to change the dimension style of just this one dimension, the one that's highlighted, to large radius. So I'm going to click on that. And there we go. You see how that changed? Okay, so what else do I need here? I need the 2x. So now I can double click and type in there. 2x, make sure that's capitalized, space, close text editor. Let me highlight that. I'll highlight that just to show that I've done it. Now we have the radius of these slots, which is 0.375. On this little picture here, it's circled. The reason it's circled is just it's calling to attention the fact that these are 3 decimal places, so we'll have to change something on those as well. But to get this, we're going to use the radius dimension right here, radius. I'm going to click right here, drag out, and that's correctly displayed. It's displayed as we see it on the input sheet. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click once, and then I'm going to right click once. And I'm going to go up to precision instead of dimension style. Under precision, I'm going to change this to be 3 decimal places. There we go, it shows me 3.375. And then we have 4 times of this, because we have this radius right here, 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 and here. So now I'm going to double click on it, get my blinking cursor. Now I know I can type 4x space. Still want that right there, and I'm going to check on close text editor. If you ever do this and you accidentally delete your dimension, you can do Control-Z to undo what you just did. You can escape out of the command, delete the dimension, and put it in again. There's options, but it can be something that happens. You can accidentally delete that, and you don't want to do that, of course. So, okay, close text editor. Let me highlight that. The last thing I have up here is 2x of these circles here. And it's shown as a diameter. There's 2 times, and it's 3 decimal places. So I'm going to grab my diameter dimension, select my arc or circle, that's right here, drag out. It'll fit in here. I'm going to put it inside this area. And I'm going to click once on the dimension, and then right click once, go to precision, give it a precision of 3 decimal places. Now I'm going to add the 2x to it, so now I'm just going to double click, get my blinking cursor, 2x space, close text editor. All right, so looking over here, it looks like I've highlighted all my dimensions. If I was going to check this, I could go through and just make sure that I got all of my quantities. That's an easy mistake to make, so it's a good thing to have on your checklist of things to check. And now if I was just going to go through here and ask myself some questions, you notice that I tried as much as I could to put dimensions in between the views. And it's also important to not have your dimension lines, that's the lines with the arrows, you don't want those crossing other extension lines. For example, I wouldn't want to have a dimension that went like this. If I had a dimension like that, you see how that's crossing an extension line and a dimension line? It would be better for me to find another way to do that. Now, sometimes you can't avoid it, but if you can, you should. So I'm checking for that. I'm making sure I don't have anything crossing. I'm looking at the busyness of the part. I don't want any of my dimensions just really uncomfortably close to the part. I'd like a little bit of space. Some people actually get really detailed about this and they'll measure minimum distances. I tend to think you just want a little bit of that visual distance. It lets your, at first glance, it lets you distinguish between the dimension geometry and the part geometry. think that looks pretty good. All right, just want to show you guys a couple things about Paperspace. So, Paperspace, I just want you guys to notice if I click in this area right here, in this white space, you'll notice that I have the word model pop up. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at my model through my Paperspace. It's like my Paperspace has a hole in it and I'm looking into my model tab. And I can edit it from here. If I click into this gray space out here, double click, see how it says paper? And I can click back and forth and change them. Here's another thing to notice. When I click in Paperspace, what I can do is I have this little number here that says 1:2. That's a scale of my viewport here. And this is a little lock. I can unlock that little lock and that will allow me to move my model space around in Paperspace. And you guys got to pay attention to this because sometimes you can have it so that, see, my model space isn't even shown. It needs to be dragged into the view. And when you turn in your DWFs, you could have a lot of your stuff done here, but if it's dragged off the page, your DWF will come to me blank. So really good to check out your Paperspace for that. And then also you want to pay attention to scale. So since I have this unlocked, I'm going to use my little mouse scrolly wheel and you can see how I can make this get bigger and smaller. As I'm making it get bigger and smaller, notice this number. See how it changes? So that just shows how the scale is changing. Now, I can change the scale by scrolling. I can also change the scale by clicking here and going up to, I'm going to make it 1:2. That's what I want it at, and then I'm going to drag it by holding my middle wheel down. I'm going to drag it into place. I'm just going to center it up. And then now I want it so that I don't mess with it. I don't want to mess up what I just did. So I'm going to hit my little lock. And now I could try to drag it, and it's not even going to let me. It's going to drag around my whole view and my whole paper. So pay close attention to that. That will become more and more important. The one last thing to notice on here is that we have a note. It says the material is mild steel. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a note in here. And you can make it in model or Paperspace. I usually put it in model space. I'm just going to grab some multi-line text. And down here somewhere, I'm going to type, and this needs to be in all capital letters on your text layer, notes, unless otherwise specified. Enter. 1. Material specification. Mild steel. And then down here you'll have your general note, which will be on a lot of drawings many times. Interpret dimensioning. Tolerancing and symbols in accordance with ASME Y14.5-2009. And then what I want to do is I want to double click on this text here, highlight all of it, and up here I'm in my text editor. Right here, that shows me the height of that text. Right now it's 0.2 inches tall. I want it to be the same height as this text, which we're going at 1/8 of an inch, so I want it to be 0.13. Now I can do close text editor. And there we go. And then I want to check in my paper space to make sure that that fits nicely. I've got some overlap. I could actually do it where I edit it in model space through paper space. So I double click in here, make sure I see the word model. And then, oh, I don't think I can move this around. Oh, I can. I just have to use my move command. So I don't just need to move my move command. What I can do is I can take that arrow right there and drag it in so that I get some text wrap. That helped a lot. And then I'm going to move it a little bit. There we go. And that's it for the bracket for now. Hold on to that. And we will come back to it later.